Hi guys, Zizaran here with another build guide, and this is Boneshatter Slayer featuring Karn. It is an insanely strong build, very good, especially for a melee build. It is actually a competitive racing build. Both Lighty and Karn is growing this in the upcoming race now, so it's going to be interesting to see. This is the build for you, especially all those melee chads out there. And a big downside to the build is that it doesn't have any passive damage like explosive arrow putting down the totems. It does only do damage while you're actively hitting. So that would be a downside, but still a very strong build. Karn, show us a little bit how to play the build.
It's very straightforward how it plays out, very simple. You just sleep slam around the map, and you smash. You're gonna be generating rage because of Warlord's Mark, since you stun enemies all the time. You always stun enemies, this while you're mapping. A very good clear, good speed. It's safe because you stun everything, and for a single target, when you get to the map bosses, for example, the map boss, all you have to do is just drop your Protector, your Vault Warchief, Berserk, Focus, Adrenaline, and that's the boss down.
So as normal, we're using Path of Building for this build guide, and we have a link in the description on how to download it. Karn has put in everything as a step-by-step leveling process, including labs, etc. So you can see that here. That means that you won't get lost while leveling. In the skills, you can see that we're starting off leveling by splitting Steel, and you switch to Spectral Helix at level 12. And then you can see all the abilities they use for early game, and later here, the late game, when you're getting a little higher up in levels. And then we have everything here with the end game. So pretty easy to follow what you should be doing. And there are also a lot of additional notes. Here you'll be able to find generic tips, like for example, the bandits, you kill them all, and the Brian King is the major pantheon, and the minor pantheon starts out as GIGACHADS. All this information you're going to find here, leveling tips, as well as how to craft an actual weapon for this. And you'll be able to watch Karn play this on Leaguestarter, so you can see exactly how he's doing it and get some tips there as well. If we go to item sets, we have a generic one and an endgame one. On the generic one, it's very standard on every build. Obviously, you just get as much P DPS as you want. You're not looking for fire damage, cold damage, etc. You're looking for a high percentage physical damage roll, flat physical damage roll, and high attack speed. And one of those could be crafted as well. Maybe you have crazy high physical damage but no attack speed. You can craft pretty good attack speed. Other than that, it's going to be life and spell suppression on pretty much all the gear. That's all you're looking for early on. In the end game, you're going to be looking for beefier and beefier weapons. And again, using Harvest with both Reforged more likely and also Reforged physical mods are very strong for getting weapons such as this. And then there are loads of examples here of on what kind of gear to get. And then we have Ashes of the Stars as well. Well, do be careful, that might be very rare in the new league. We don't know how they've changed new drop rates. But all of the gear is very achievable, and you have great players playing this build that you will be able to watch and see how they're doing and what they're doing as you're playing. So I actually have Karn in my house. So let's do the Q&A that we do at the end of every build just to make sure all the boxes are ticked. So first off, Karn, are there too many gems to equip? What's the socket pressure on the build like?
Yeah, there is actually a decently big socket pressure because you need a lot of red sockets, especially early on, for like aim, your auras, and usually you don't have these sockets, so you have to compromise.
What about mana issues? Can the player run into that?
Yes, melee leveling has a lot of mana issues. Usually you just solve that by running a mana flask, and you make sure you keep it a low mana flask, not a high level. Either you use the highest mana flask you can get, and you roll it with Enduring, but usually you don't have the currency for that. So what you do instead is you use a lower level mana flask.
So Karn, what kind of defense is on the build? Is it multi-layered? And talk a little bit about sustain and boss fights.
Yeah, so but for the defenses, we have obviously Fortify, we're Slayers, we have Leech, Ball Pact. You have Spell Suppression capped pretty easily. And there are charges that we generate because we hit ourselves.
So Boneshatter makes you hit yourself. Can you tell us and walk us through this? Do we take a lot of damage, and how do we mitigate that?
So yeah, there's gonna be some points we're gonna take some damage. For example, when you end the act, around like Act 9, Act 10, you start taking a lot of damage. Some damage if you ramp too hard. That being said, it's not that much of an issue later on. Like, as soon as you get your Merc Lab, you get Overleached, then you have no problems with it. And once the gem gets a little bit high level, gets to level 18, 19, 20, then you start taking more damage. But at that point, you have Valpact, which...
What would you say the biggest mechanical drawbacks of the build are?
Well, biggest mechanical drawbacks, obviously, you play strike skill. You just melee, pure melee. You have to... if you're not hitting, you're not dealing damage.
Yeah.
That is one of the reasons we're using something like focus double damage, so that when you have uptime, you actually can make it count. We have Berserk too. That is obviously less reliable on bosses. The range is not that much of an issue because the mastery allows you to hit from pretty far, but you still have the problem of having to stand still and deal damage. That is a big...
What about financial hurdles? Like, is this going to be an expensive build, and what kind of items would be expensive for the build?
This is actually, I think, a very simple and cheap build to put together. Like, you can farm all the gear yourself. You don't even need much when you early on. You don't need that much.
I hope you guys enjoy the build guide. Good luck. Let us know if you're going to start with this. Make sure you check out Karn. He's going to be streaming this on Twitch and doing the boss kill race. And if you have any questions, he'll be able to help you, and people in his chat, etc. They play a lot of Boneshatter over there. So this is the perfect, if you want to be like a melee GIGACHAD this Leaguestarter, this is the build for you. Again, huge thank you to Karn, and if you guys like the video, sub to the YouTube channel, but more importantly, try to die less than I do.